What is up, you guys? So I'm going to try to keep this a little short. This is my recap of the Glendale Supercross. I know it's almost a week after this, but of course I kind of got a little distracted with some things and had a jury duty summons on Tuesday, which turned out to be canceled, thankfully. But in the meantime, guys, remember, subscribe if you think that I'm worth listening to, or if you just want to see some more of my games. I'll try my best to get these recaps up as soon as possible. But in the meantime, let's get into this. I'm going to start with the 250 class this time. Haiden Deegan wins again. Levi Kitchens still needs answers. And I'll tell you this. For both the 250 main and the 450 main, not a lot really happened there. As soon as Haiden Deegan got to the front, that was it as far as the fight for the win is concerned. And the same goes for Ken Roczen in the 450 class. But Levi Kitchen has been a pretty big disappointment for riding in the West Coast. And it's hard to believe a little bit that Cameron McAdoo is posting some better results than Levi is. And McAdoo was pretty much invisible much of last season. And this was a year where I thought was going to be make or break for McAdoo, but was most likely going to be a break for him. But instead, it's been just the opposite. Is something wrong with Levi Kitchen physically? I don't think so. But I do think that crashing in the first turn in the first three races has certainly dinged his confidence for sure, because it's always the little things like that that can really affect your flow and your confidence. And obviously, staying away from injury is a key thing. Just ask Chance Hymas, because he's out for the rest of the Supercross season. But as far as Haiden Deegan is concerned, like I said in a prior video, I have not seen this kind of riding since probably Eli Tomac when he was on the 250F back around the early 2010s. But still, Deegan winning again has certainly made me look like a genius. But as far as Max Anstey is concerned, his teammate, I do think that Anstey hasn't been the same since Deegan put him down. But I think that was a bit unintentional on Deegan's part. Not like Cole Davies, where that was 100% intentional on Deegan's behalf. But on one side of the coin, you can't blame Deegan if he wanted to win the title. But still, you don't want to put a teammate down like that. And I'm pretty sure, like I said earlier, I'm pretty sure that Star Yamaha is watching Deegan closely and telling him not to do these things again, intentional or not. I mean, to be frank, you can be viewed as public enemy number one that way when you put down a guy unintentionally or intentionally. And it's probably twice as bad if it's intentional. And to see Deegan do that, you're not going to make a lot of fans. You're not going to make a lot of fans. You're going to make a ton of enemies. But if you feed off of that, then mazel tov. So, like I said, there wasn't much to talk about as far as a fight for the win is concerned. But congrats to Deegan on winning. It was also rumored after watching Cooksy's video that he might have been injured. But I think Deegan will be good to go for Seattle. And somehow, if Deegan loses this title, it's going to take a big problem on his behalf. Probably an injury, maybe a multiple bike problems week after week for Deegan to lose this title. So the 450s had a little bit more to talk about there. So Ken Roczen gets win number one. Eli Tomac crashes and finished 12th. Hunter Lawrence didn't win because of lack of passing, and Larry Brooks diagnosed with stage 2 colon cancer. I am sending my best wishes out to Larry Brooks. Of course, he made his cancer diagnosis public on social media. And I'll tell you this, stage 2, but he caught it early. I really hope that it turns out well for him. I'm sure it'll be a positive outcome for Larry Brooks. And to lose a guy like that, oh, man, that just proves why cancer scares the living crap out of me for sure. I don't care what stage it is, because when you're diagnosed with cancer, that's the last news you want to hear, because that really eats into your savings and all that. And of course, there is the dialysis and the treatment, which can be really, really draining on you mentally. I've lost a family member to cancer, and believe me, that's no fun. I've also heard of guys who lost their lives because of cancer. And Alex Trebek, one of my childhood heroes, is one of them that's away from sports and all that. When he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, in the pancreatic cancer, as a matter of fact. And he fought it, and despite some improvements, cost him his life at only 80 years young. So my best goes out to Larry Brooks. I really hope it's a positive outcome, and I like to think that it will be a positive outcome. And it was good on Ken Roczen to get that win and also dedicate that to Larry Brooks as well. And Larry Brooks has been known to help out a lot of guys. Just ask Jeremy McGrath, just ask Chad Reed, and of course James Stewart as well, because a lot of people will also remember very well when Larry Brooks was the team manager of Chaparral Yamaha, and he brought on Jeremy McGrath, and then unfortunately, that team folded after 2000, and then Larry Brooks became a manager for Samuel Yamaha after a stint with Red Bull KTM, and Chad Reed was on that team. Samuel, and then it was James Stewart, and then now he's with the Suzuki squad. Larry Brooks, I'm talking about. I didn't get to see Larry Brooks race at all, but I did see some from some prior races on YouTube from back in the day. But, I really hope it's a positive outcome for Larry Brooks. And my best goes out to Larry Brooks and his family. Now for the racing. Ken Roczen gets win number 1. And I'll tell you this, when he made the pass on Hunter Lawrence, I was actually pretty surprised there that Hunter Lawrence was unable to keep pace with them. But at the same time, Hunter Lawrence, I feel, did not win because that Glendale track did not provide much passing. But don't tell that to Eli Tomac, who crashed in the first turn with Christian Craig. And there was nothing that Tomac could do. And to be frank, that did not look like a bad crash from Tomac. But to see him take as long as he did to get going had to have been proof that something on his body wasn't feeling right. What was it? I don't know. But Tomac, once he got back up, he made a pretty good charge up to 12th. But that was certainly not on anybody's bingo cards, that's for sure. Certainly wasn't on mine, because I thought for sure that Tomac was going to be on the podium along with Chase Sexton. But you know what? I'm kind of calling out Dirtworks or whoever designs these tracks because, like I said, that track did not provide a lot of passing. And those are the kinds of tracks that I really, really don't like. The ones that are so start dependent. And that I feel is the reason why Hunter Lawrence did not win. He got the start, but he just didn't seem to be charging hard enough. And as a result, Roczen got around him early, and that was it as far as the win is concerned. But still, Hunter Lawrence takes the red plate. I do think that he was riding pretty conservative, but at that point, I don't know if riding conservative was the best way for Hunter Lawrence. I mean, yes, he took the points lead, but if I'm him, I would have just charged for the win regardless, because I haven't won one of these things yet. And for Hunter Lawrence to kind of take the savvy way out, that could pay off in the long run. But if I'm Hunter, I would have gone for the win for sure. And you don't want to win a title without winning a race. In the 450 class, It's just not possible. There's just too many guys out there that can go on good runs. And even if you're consistent and all, like Chad Reed was, there's no way you can win a race or win a title without winning a race. But in motocross, that's a different story. Just tell that to Jean-Michel Bale and tell that to Grant Langston too. So for Hunter Lawrence to get one of these wins, he's got to do it sooner or later. Otherwise, when Jet Lawrence comes back, that'll probably be that up until then would have been Hunter's best chance at getting one of these wins. Because when you get a guy who's like at least a couple of standard deviations up as far as speed is concerned, like how Jet Lawrence is, that doesn't leave a lot of wiggle room as far as getting wins are concerned. And a lot of people were saying the same about Chase Sexton when Jet Lawrence was still in the 250 class. He had to win a title before Jet Lawrence moved up. Unfortunately, Chase Sexton got his title in 2023 after Tomac had that Achilles injury. But for Ken Roczen, good on him to get win number one. And for once, he didn't get to the end of the race and get winded for sure. And that's kind of been the knock on Ken Roczen from my view. Like, he starts out really well, but then when it gets to the end of the race, he starts to get winded. And this is the kind of thing I talked about in a prior video. Roczen has got to talk to someone like Mike LaRocco about finding a second win in the waning parts of the main events. And that way, then, he might be winning a lot more. And he wouldn't give away so many races to Cooper Webb. But as for Cooper Webb, I don't know if he was eating the same food as Eli Tomac or what, but he didn't really provide much of anything as far as I was concerned. I mean, yeah, he got on the podium, but that definitely wasn't the Cooper Webb that I saw last week at Houston. That's for sure. So, you know, that's the reason why I feel like that Glendale track did not provide much passing unless you're Eli Tomac. And that's the reason why I feel that Hunter Lawrence did not win that race, because of lack of passing on the track. Now we're going up to Seattle. And for the first time since 1999, Seattle is early in the schedule. And is it going to be a mud race? God, I hope not. Unfortunately, I won't be around to see that because I will be at a volleyball tournament co-emceeing. But in the meantime, I don't know who's going to win that one, but I sure hope that Chase Sexton gets back on track, because Sexton's got a pretty good record in Seattle. But I would like to see Sexton win that race, because that's who I'm picking as one of the winners for tonight. I also think that maybe Ken Roczen might back up his win at Glendale, but we'll see what happens. They're definitely going to have to get better, because that race in Seattle is going to be open roof. I still think that Lumen Field should have a cover on it, like how the old Seattle Kingdome did, because of the conditions. But fortunately, in the last few years, Seattle's gotten lucky, and it hasn't been a complete quagmire like how it was in 2006. But still, we'll see what happens. Is Eli Tomac going to rebound? Odds are he probably will, because the odds of Tomac having two bad races in a row in this day and age doesn't seem very likely. But of course, there is that possibility. But for Hunter Lawrence, he's got to get this win to solidify in his mind that he can win one of these things and he can battle with everyone. He's got the starts figured out. It's now just a matter of charging hard and being defensive when it counts. Because if you're not willing to go to that extra mile or be extra protective of your position, odds are you're probably not going to win one of these races. And that's where I'll leave it. So anyway, guys, that's all for today. and I'll see you all after Seattle.